Hey guys, thank you so much for coming today. Welcome to, make sure that, hold on, I'm gonna tap that so we can see it. All right, this is the Copy Skill Shop with me, Kelly Harris. Let's jump into it. So, I'm not just another copywriter. I believe in connecting people. I believe in storytelling, and I am a big proponent in servant leadership. I'm a mom of four actual children and two dogs currently, but my children are trying to talk me into more pets, so we will see. It is my mission to help solopreneurs, especially coaches and course creators, to craft your messages that speak to your audiences because this isn't necessarily about just it's not about just meeting people, it's about connecting and building real relationships. I am a resident council member. My goal is to help you find your voice so you can live purposefully and powerfully through the confidence of yourselves through your messaging. This is part of a modern business mastery. This is a free session called the Copy Skill Shop, and you are welcome to join our newsletter. Or one of the other things you can do that I highly recommend is book a free strategy building session. It's awesome. Also connect on LinkedIn. They're always doing amazing things. And you can download the goals to game plan toolkit. All of those things are super helpful. And Modern Business Mastery, what I absolutely love right now is there are two programs, M360 and then the Mastery Network. You can pick which one you want. One gives more support than the other. And so they are very unique. One of the things that I absolutely love about this is one of the two places on the internet where I have always felt like it's not about just growing your business. It's about building and connecting and growing together and having somebody to support you because entrepreneurship, business, whatever you want to call it, it's hard. And it's great to have a place where you can go and actually ask questions and feel like you're among friends. And Mastery 360 and the Mastery Network, that really does that. So if you're interested, like I said, book a free strategy session, connect on LinkedIn, all of those things. If you're interested in connecting with me, of course, the words would not show up. That's how my life is going. We'll do it this way. Maybe. Nope. Okay. So if you're interested in connecting with me, it's Kelly Harris Creative on LinkedIn. It's Kelly Harris Copywriter, or try again. It's Kelly Harris Creative on Instagram. It is, oh no, they're there. See? Okay, they're the wrong color. So give me just a second and I am going to fix that because it's bothering me that they aren't, you can't see it and I can't remember which one goes with where. And there's a whole long story if you ever really want to know why they're the way they are currently. There really is a reason. So Kelly Harris Creative on Instagram, Kelly Harris Copywriter on Facebook, LinkedIn is Kelly Harris Creative 208 because that was the address of the house when we started the business. And then if you want to just email me, email me. I love to talk to people. I love to talk to adults because I talk to kids all day long. So it's Kelly with a Y at kellyharriscreative.com. All right. All of that to say, we're going to get into some talk about strategic storytelling. A lot of people will say, oh, watch out, be very careful with storytelling because it's a thing. And so today we're actually going to talk about 2 points and then I'm going to open up the floor to you guys. But we're going to talk about the history of verbal and written communication. The reason we're going to do this is I have a point that I want to make with that. And then we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts of storytelling, how we're going to use it in our business. And then, like I said, we're going to open up the floor for questions for you guys to ask anything you want. So here we go. You'll notice that my timeline kind of goes off the rail towards the end. That's because there wasn't a really cute graphic and I ran out of time to make one. But the point of this is that language started about 200,000 years ago. They had some form of language. They were talking to each other, our ancestors were, but they didn't really have any form of written language, because if you really dive into this, and you can, and I find it super fascinating, they were talking to each other and then somebody found a stick, kind of started etching on the wall. That became the hieroglyphics, the pictographs, all of that. And that is actually what our language actually developed from. But we didn't really have writing, as we know, writing for a long time. Really, it was like 150,000 years between the time that we start talking to each other to the time that we figure out that we can communicate by writing. And so writing is a lot younger than language. And the whole point of this, like I want to just show it to you kind of real quickly, is that as we get into 1500, the printing press is invented by Johann Gutenberg. And then as we get closer to modern time, 1800s, we've got photography happening, we've got telephones happening, radio, TV, digital media, mobile media, social media. All of those things are starting to happen very, very fast. But what really life comes down to, and my whole point of us digging into this, even just briefly, is that it all started with language. It all started with storytelling. That is how they passed down their traditions. That is how they passed down what they wanted to say. In the Middle Ages, they had pages who would run from town to town to town and just remember whatever the message was. And that was literally their job. So my whole point of this is that storytelling is super, super, super important because our brains are wired for storytelling. Our brains remember stories. You can come and rattle off a bunch of facts to somebody, and they're going to be like, awesome. I can't remember dates. I don't know. But if you can tie it into a story, people are going to remember it because people remember how you made them feel. And if you can use storytelling in your business, it is such a game changer because right now, where we are in history is an amazing, amazing time of history. And there's a lot of use of AI, and there's a lot of just make people, just throw that information out, get people to buy. We're going to, bro market, we're going to whatever. And somewhere along the way, we've lost some of that authenticity. And that is what people are craving right now. They are craving authenticity with your messaging. They are craving authenticity just to talk to another human and to feel like they're talking to another human being. A lot of people, a lot of the research that I've been doing has suggesting that AI is a great tool for the research piece. It's a great tool to help you market in terms of like, let's think through a calendar. It is not a great tool to stick in there and say, hey, I need you to tell me what my marketing is going to be for the next month. Spit out the messaging, because A, if you do that, you're going to sound like every other person in your industry that is doing that, because it's an echo chamber, so it's going to give you what it already has. And B, people are so weary of AI right now that if they sniff AI in the messaging, it's a total turnoff. They will read something and they will go, something about that messaging feels off. It feels funky. I don't like it. Ew, no. And so there's really this piece of authenticity that we really have to push right now. I say push. Personally, I think you should have it anyway. It's not something I think you should make yourself do. But I think it's a great opportunity for you to build real connections, because the other thing that I think is really fascinating right now is that a lot of marketers are looking at research and they're finding that what matters more than getting clients is retaining clients. Because if you can get, and there's a marketing term for it, I cannot remember it at the moment, but if you can get a client or get someone in your world and they become a proponent of you and they really love what you're doing, they will buy from you over and over and over again. And so it's also easier to retain a client than it is to get a new one. So it's a huge, huge piece that I feel like a lot of people are currently missing. So let's talk about this. How do we tell stories in our business? And I'm actually going to pull this okay. How do we do this in our business? Well, first, we're going to make it relatable. I'm moving things around, guys, so hang out with me. We're going to make it relatable. Your audience has to see themselves in the experiences that you're talking about and the stories you're talking about so that they can connect with it. They have to understand, like if you say, perfect example, I was going to church to choir one day and I literally had to text and say, I am so sorry. This was right around Christmas time. I am so sorry. The 14-month-old left me a present right as we were walking out the door, which required a full change of outfit. And every one of the moms in the group was like, been there, we get that, we've lived it. Like, so they understood exactly what I meant by, he left me a present, and it was not a fun one. So you have to be able to let people see themselves in your story that you're telling. You got to start with a hook. This is marketing 101. We've got to get their attention because the average attention span right now of humans is like 1.3 seconds. If they're not in the first sentence, they're out. If it's email, if they're not in the subject line, they might never open it. And your message could be so incredible that you've really got to kind of sell your story in the subject line to say. And then one of the things that I absolutely love to do is the third thing. We're going to tie it to a message. So you can tell a story and then you tell them what your point is and why you're telling this story. So a lot of times when I'm doing, if you're on my email list, you'll see me say like, hey, this is what's going on in our life. This reminds me of business because, or this is why I wanted to share this story with you, is because you're teaching them something. You're giving them some form of takeaway or some little tidbit that they can take and go try out and find success with. So usually that is a key takeaway. It's a mindset shift, or you're telling them what you want them to do. Like with Nikki, I know she does a lot of gardening. If you're just think of it like planting a seed, you're planting that seed to get them to be like, okay, now I've got that thought in my head. Okay, tell me more. Okay, now I'm going to try what you just told me to do. Oh my gosh, it worked. The minute they think that whatever you told them to do works, you've become the expert. And they are going to want to know anything and everything that you have to say about it. We're going to keep it concise and engaging. We don't want it to be boring. I actually had someone recently tell me, edit ruthlessly. Make every word count. It's not about the fluff. You're trying to get your idea across. And most people, I'm sure I say this fairly often, most people have something around 10,000 marketing messages thrown at them every single day. So our brain is completely throwing away anything that's fluff. And if it starts to be fluffy, 9 times out of 10, we're just our brain's turning it off and moving on to the next thing. So we're trying to make every word count. Clear, concise. And then this is a huge piece of it. We're going to use emotion to drive action. Because here's the thing. People don't buy based on logic. They buy based on emotion. They buy based on how you either A, made them feel, or if you can sell the transformation of how they will feel, that's what gets them to buy. And here's the thing. Once they decide, typically emotionally, not all people are this way, but the emotional ones, when they buy based on emotions, they will decide because of the emotion, and then they will use logic to justify the price. This is one of those things where you have to kind of be careful with emotion because you don't want it to be false or fake or feel yucky. But the whole point of it is you want to get them, you're getting that buy-in by treating them like they're human. And that's one of the things that AI does not do very well is emotion. Let's see, what else? So we're going to tap into feelings like transformation, hope, or urgency. And hope is a huge, huge piece. It's so powerful when it's done correctly that you can, talk a lot of people into doing things when you dangle that hope carrot. And I say that, and I don't mean to sound like, oh, we're manipulating people, because that's not what this is about. This is about tapping into the real emotions that people have behind what it is that you do. Does that make sense? Like, we're not creating false emotion. We're saying, well, okay, we'll talk about this here in a second with the don'ts, but ultimately, people want to know what's in it for them. Why would I do the thing? Why would I buy the thing? What's in it for me? The next thing to do is that we always want to have a clear call to action, because this is the thing that I see over and over again. People forget. They tell a story, they've got people involved, they want to know what to do next, and then you're like, okay, see you next time, bye. And a confused audience will never, ever buy. So if you don't tell them what to do, they assume they are supposed to do nothing at all. So if you want them to join your email list, you ask them to join your email list. If you want them to join you on LinkedIn and connect with you, you have to tell them what you want them to do. And you only get to tell them one thing, the rule of email at least, and I kind of extend this to social media and some other things, one email, one social media, one call to action. You can't say, hey, buy my program and join my email list and, join the membership, because that's too much. It's too much, too fast. And if they're confused at all, they will do nothing. And then, like we've talked about over and over again, we've got to stay authentic. We've got to be human. We have to be ourselves. We have to tell real personal stories that resonate more than the perfectly crafted generic ones. Uh, you'll see this a lot right now in marketing. People will tell you nobody wants to see the curated Instagram follow, the influencer. Those was good Lord. Those were 20 years ago. People thought that was great. Now people are like, fake, ew, sucky. No, no. They want to see, your dirty desk. They want to see that you're human, that like, and a lot of the stories that I get the most response from are typically things like, hey guys, I totally messed up and just sent you a blank email. My bad. Or, the cat sat on it. Or I actually had a fellow copywriter I was talking to recently who said, hey, I purposely put a typo in every social media post I put out and every email I put out. Because she found that when she did, people commented on stuff. Not just like, oh, you have a typo, but they said, oh my gosh, you're so human. Oh my gosh, like you just not having this perfect, just like it really resonates with me. And then the last thing that we do when we're storytelling is we're paying attention. Open rates are kind of important. We can have a whole discussion on that if you'd like, but you should always reply. You should always look at who's clicking through, who's doing what. And then as you tell these stories, what you're going to kind of learn as you're looking at the data is typically you'll see that there are certain types of stories that your audience will really resonate with. Anybody that's on my email list, they know that stories that resonate with them are typically stories about my kids, business lessons that the kids have taught me, or things that I'm like, hey, this is what I learned in business, and this is when it went really, really well, or more likely, this is when it blew up in my face. So I highly recommend that you don't do this thing. So we're always going to be testing. We're always going to be tweaking. It's part of it. And that's okay that it's part of it. So now, if we're really being strategic with our emails and with our storytelling, let's talk about things that we probably should not be doing. Come on, anytime. So things to be mindful of. I tried not to be like rude. Don't do this. But these are the don'ts. We're not going to tell a story just to tell a story. I was recently talking with someone who was like, why would I tell stories, Kelly? Because I don't want them to know everything that's going on in my life. And my point was, cool, then don't tell them that story. Tell them a story that relates back to your business or your life in some way. There has to be some takeaway. And number two, it's not all about you. I used to have someone years ago when I did Renaissance Festival that the callback was, it's all about me, and everybody else would say, it's all about us. It's about your reader. It's about your audience. Even if it's a personal story, we have to frame this in a way that is going to serve your reader. It's great that they know about you. You want people to be like, oh, it's Kelly. She loves Dr. Pepper. She loves her kids. She loves writing. She'll talk your ear off if you let her. Like, you want them to know that, because then when they do it over and over again, someone's going to say, oh, do you know a copywriter? I do. These are the things you need to know about Kelly in one sentence. And we're not going to drag it out. We're not, like we talked about, we're not adding all those unnecessary details. If it takes too long to make a point, people are just going to stop reading. And that's okay. We also are going to make sure we have that CTA. So these are kind of the opposite of what we just talked about. Not all of them, but some of them. We have to have that CTA. So don't go through all the work of telling an awesome story and then not tell people what you want them to do. Also, on that note, we're not going to be super salesy. This isn't about the sale. This is about building the relationship so that when they are ready for the sale, you are there and you are the number one person that they want to talk to. When they are ready to start their garden, when they're ready for a copywriter, when they're ready for whatever it is that you do. You want to be top of mind. And then this is one of my personal favorites. This is another little nerdy thing, but we have to watch our formatting, because big blocks of text freak out your brain. Think just like this: bullet points, space. Space is fabulous in your emails or even in your social media, because our brains crave that bit of space from all of the messaging that we have thrown at us. And when you make it easy to read and we're using short sentences to increase the readability and we're bolding certain things, it makes it super, super easy for our brains to scan it and to ingest a ton of information super, super fast. So you're actually really helping your reader. And then we're not going to overcomplicate language. I was taught this as KISS, keep it simple. Um, there was also another word at the end that's not very nice, but you have to keep it simple. We have to keep it simple because the goal, it's about connecting. We are becoming connectors. It's not about impressing with your fancy words. There's a whole research that says that most Americans, at least, have something around an 8th to ninth grade reading level. So if you're using huge words, you have to take the time to tell them what they mean in your sentence. And now we have a whole bunch of extra fluff. Unless your goal is to teach people words, you probably don't need that overcomplicated language. And then here's the other thing. The last bit on our don'ts is that we are not going to assume that it's a one story fits all. So where you can, if you have your audiences, your lists and things like that segmented out, we may tailor our stories to specific segments. If we're trying to get somebody to join a membership, it's a very different thing that we're talking about than if we're trying to sell them on $1,000 product because we want them in our course. And so we're not going to necessarily tell the same story for those two parts. And then the last bit that we're going to talk about is some questions that you can ask yourself to tell the right stories. So like we said, this is about being authentic. This is about building relationships. And I actually do, if any of you are interested, have what's called the content catalyst. And I could probably open it this way. I will show it to you because it is full of questions that we have that you can actually use to write stories. So I'm going to apologize in advance because who knows what's going to pop up on Canva. There is so much stuff in that Canva world right now. Aha, yay, it's number 1. That always makes me happy. All right, so here's what it looks like. It's got 25 questions in it, and it's also got an easy framework. We did, if you were in M360 when we did the lightning talks, all of the lightning talk, my whole 3 minutes, this whole freebie came from that because it was very awesome. So you use the story framework. So seek their why. You have to know what is driving your audience because you have to know how to speak to them. If you do not know what they're going through, what their struggles, their desires, and things like that are, it's really hard to tailor and talk to people if you have no idea who you're talking to. We're tying our purpose. We're connecting your values to their journey. So you're basically telling them, here are stories that reflect back at you what you already believe, and this is why I'm the right person to work with you. We're bridging the gap by connecting personal stories and business insights to the solutions that they're looking for. The O is basically we're being relatable. We're going to open relatability. We're using familiar real life experiences. What's in it for them? How can they see themselves in this story? And then the R is we're resonating with emotion. Feels like I just already talked about all of these things. And then Y is yielding a lesson, delivering our key takeaways. So here are our questions. Hopefully they're big enough. We don't have to go through all of them, but you can pick one of these questions and then write a story about it. And usually there's an easy way once you write your story to tie back the thing that you did today or the question to tie it back to a business lesson or to just share it with on social media or even, I use these a lot with my email. Like what's a decision I made today and what influenced it? What changed it? The other thing I will tell you is that when I write my emails for my personal emails for my business, I have a very dear friend who also happens to be my ideal client, essentially. And so I usually pretend like I'm writing to her. So I usually start the thought with like, hey, Jennifer, and then I sit there and pretend like we're at coffee just talking and how this story came up and why this is important in business. And then I go back and I take her name out and then kind of tweak it a little bit. And then that's how I usually come up with the stories that I come up with. But other questions, like what's a small victory I had today and how did I celebrate it? Because we as women, we forget to celebrate those small victories. And it's nice sometimes to have that little reminder. These aren't all positive. Like what's one thing that surprised me? What's a challenge I faced today and how did I overcome it? These are things that we just one of the reasons I really like these questions is they're great for journaling, but it's also a really easy way typically to write a really simple story because these don't have to be complicated. It's not about being complicated. It's not about I'm sharing my story for the sake of sharing my story. It's about I've walked this path before, and now I'm going to help you cross this path so that you can get where you're going faster. So hopefully you found that kind of helpful. And now I'm to the point where like we can open this up and have a conversation, questions, anything like that. I am more than willing to answer anything you got.
Kelly, I wanted to ask for the link for your freebie, the store.
Absolutely. I will drop that in the chat here in just a minute. But yeah, absolutely. And I'm working on being slightly more consistent. This is really sad. I was way more consistent when I was pregnant than I have been now that he is climbing up the walls, quite literally at 16 months old.
Of course. You're
So
definitely way more consistent, I think, every time you're pregnant because there's still a rhythm and they're all enclosed, right?
right. Well,
Once
and
they're out there.
I planned for 6 months. I literally sat down one day and was like, we need to have a come to Jesus meeting. I need to do these things. And I sat down and I wrote 6 months worth of emails in 2.5 days, which I do not recommend you doing that because I could not lift my arm for like 4 days after sitting and typing that long. Um, but I just went in and plugged it all in. And right now I'm doing it month at a time and it's just not working as much. I'm very like, okay, maybe we just need to do a whole quarter at a time just to be a little bit more consistent. But cuz like half the time I write them and they still don't get out. So this is where we are. We're working towards it though. It's all good. All good things.
Yeah, and Aurelie, you should go first because I submitted my copy to Kelly already, and I know Kelly, you can just loom me or whatnot if we don't have any time. But if you had any specific questions, Aurelie,
Is this the thing that you sent the other day or
yeah, I
did you?
send it the other day and then I sent it again today.
Oh, this time there's a Loom
Maybe
video
I
on
did.
modern. I think I already did a Loom video for it. If it's not the same thing, I'll look in just a
No,
minute.
it's not. Not that one was like during Christmas, I think, right? Or this one's about just a welcome sequence, so it's not
Okay,
that.
yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely
Yeah,
look at it
thank you for the link. Go
because
ahead.
I love.
Well, I don't have any specific question other than to say thank you for the insights, for sharing this very good presentation. Um, yeah, I was very much interested into diving into the question, so thank you for sharing the document. I'll have a look at that.
No
And
worries.
I like writing. I enjoy that. I do that mostly now for my social media posts on LinkedIn primarily. Um, but my next thing will be writing email sequences and other things. So I'm sure I will reach out to you as well
Yeah.
to check some of the content and get some of your insights.
Yeah, absolutely. I am always available. And like Nikki knows, if you drop it in M360, I will make a Loom video for you and be like, here are my thoughts. Take them or leave them, but here's what I think. And a lot of times, at least for me, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of because I have 4 children is we work smarter, not harder. And so one of the things that I do with my own content is I will start by writing my emails and then I will break those into my LinkedIn posts. And then usually I will go back into AI once I've written stuff and been like, hey, please help me make this a newsletter for a once a week thing for LinkedIn. And it will help. And the other thing that you'll hear me say a lot, really, if you're around a lot, is that the goal is to have AI do 80% of the work. So like I do the work up front with my writing and stuff. I know people who go in and say like give me some ideas and then they'll go back in and they'll add their own story to it or they'll add testimonials to it or things like that so that they're really making it their own. But they're still working a lot less than they would if they were start looking at a blank slate every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. It's a great help. When you know how to use it well, it's a great assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, I don't have any specific question for now, but I'm happy to listen to the
Yeah.
input that you
No
can give to
worries.
Nikki. If that's okay, Nikki, for sharing.
Absolutely. I also had a question. Okay, so Kelly, whenever I write my newsletters, I don't like leaving my husband out only because we started this kind of as partners and now he's doing more of the tech side. I'm just gonna unplug my fish tank here. It's noisy. Um, he's more doing like the tech part and
Mhm.
I do all the like the marketing part mostly. Um, and so I still write, like occasionally I'll write with me, or I'll put my husband's name in and Dave, or and sometimes our marketing is about Sage, so it's also, him. And that's where I'm like, okay, how do I make these letters so that it's like still and our picture is still like together. So those are like my questions, is how the email sequence that I sent you was a welcome sequence for onboarding Sage users. So we have like every week now, almost every day, there's somebody that will try to log in, or somebody will try to get the program or purchase the program. And then once they're on that welcome sequence, like what am I supposed to be teaching them first? Like that's the workflow, and how do I retain them, and what's most important. So I don't know how much of this, I just kind of put it out there, what I have, four to five emails is a welcome sequence. I can't remember. It's really hard to put it on doc because somehow it slows it down. I don't know what's happening, Kelly, but is that your preferred way of submitting it? I also sent your.
Yeah, is this for the plant your pantry final, or is this for, because I
Oh,
haven't seen the
no,
welcome
no.
sequence yet.
Really? It's the one I submitted in the forms.
Oh, then I have, the reason is that's every other month. So I can,
Oh, sorry. So that's for
no,
the.
no, you're fine. There's just different places I have to find the things. I'm like, where am I looking?
Okay.
No, not a problem at all. Like I said, we got time if you want to, if you're okay with pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
Um,
You want me to pull it up and just share screen? Or what do you want?
I can pull it up. Give me just a second.
Okay.
It just takes me a minute to be like, what am I looking for again? Just because there used to be multiple forms, and now I have my own form, which is kind of fancy. Um, so give me just a second. This is a shared with me form. Ah, there you are. I was like, where is it? Like,
Oh,
all
and
right.
thank you for your quick video with the Loom video for the feedback. For I only saw it now.
Oh, no, no worries. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, life got a little crazy in our house at the end
Yeah,
of
this is
January, where my
yes.
youngest had a ear infection that was like really bad. And then from that, everybody else got like a mini flu. And so
Oh,
for
yeah.
10 days, somebody in our house was down, and it was just lovely. I was not a happy camper.
No, I understand. I was well the whole year, and then December, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, to my husband's birthday on the 4th, and he had the 50th birthday party too. I was sick. So it was like, I could empathize with everybody who got sick after then. But before then I had no like, oh,
Yeah, no
I'm
worries.
pretty healthy. Yeah, but yeah, I'm so sorry.
No problem at all. Go ahead if you don't mind and pull it up on your end because it's not showing
Okay,
up on your end.
sure. Just kindly
Yeah, yeah.
allow me to share. And it's much nicer viewing it on Kit as well. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, and I don't know how to see, I don't know how to be able to share it without it being published, because I do stuff in Kit too. I actually have been really, really
Oh,
impressed with Kit.
yeah, yeah. So Aurelie, this is formerly known as ConvertKit, but it's an email. I know you were shopping for like different email places to have host your email. Did
Yeah.
you find one already?
I'm thinking of MailChimp just because I've used it in the past before I
Uh-huh.
lost access to my previous account, so I'll have to start from scratch. Uh, but I was thinking MailChimp.
I
Yeah,
actually did MailChimp for the first year and a half that I had an email list.
I
Uh,
used to do
Mm,
MailChimp too.
yeah,
But
you.
yeah, I found I like this better than MailChimp, but it has changed a lot, so perhaps it's better now. So these are my sequences. What is it again? Planter pan. What am I looking at? Welcome. Sage welcome sequence. Okay, Sage welcome sequence, non-Cyber Monday. Okay, so this is a sequence of emails is a series of emails that go out every so often according to what you desire. Every time I go here, do you find this, Kelly? This is a bug in I have to do this every time. Welcome to Sage. whenever I write
I
my.
do not. That's interesting. No, I
Yeah,
haven't
and
heard.
I have talked to them about this every time I make a new sequence. Maybe it's because an old sequence that I'm duplicating. I don't know.
It
But
could, I mean, it could be.
yeah, so this goes out immediately, and it's like a message, a video message of me and my husband. And then when we first log in, these are the login links.
Mhm.
And we say, set up your garden area in Sage. Watch this video. Okay, so this is partly you would know what to advise us in terms of marketing or like guiding the taking care of the customer, but partly you may not know what how to advise us because only we know the workflow of how the software works. But
Yeah,
any
but
any advice you give us is,
um, my one question to you is, where is this video housed? Is it housed in YouTube as an unlisted link, or is it housed someplace else?
this is you. I have to find out here. What did I press?
I'm
It's a
just
YouTube.
asking.
It's only YouTube, I think. I will find here. Loom. So this is a Loom video.
Okay. So one of the things that I recommend that I'm getting ready to do with my own stuff as I build out my own course is they're
Uh-huh.
all going to be YouTube unlisted, and there's a couple of reasons why.
Okay.
One is if and when you choose to look
Publish
at,
it.
yeah,
Oh.
well, one, if and when you choose to um look at monetizing your YouTube. The reason is that you'll have all of the stuff in the background. It's really easy to get to. You can publish and unpublish what you want to publish or leave some of the stuff unlisted. But
Yeah.
as you grow your YouTube, it is not like a normal social media. So it is not governed by the algorithm. It is governed by, it's a search engine, essentially. So if people go in and they're looking for like gardening or permaculture gardening, your stuff is going to pop up. And the more stuff you have on your channel, the easier it is. And if and when you do this, you can also set it up so that like when they finish a video, it'll pop up another of your videos so that you can send them in this loop to like basically binge
Oh,
watch all your stuff.
okay. So
Um,
I have not done that yet for my, I've totally not, sorry, it's so sunny now where I am.
you're fine.
Totally not optimized my YouTube except
And you
for,
don't have to. That might not be where you want to go, but that
no, no,
might.
it is for the yeah, I've been told that from the get-go, like from when we first started. I think you could you should focus on one
They
social
focus on
media.
one and one alone.
And
So
it
like
should
right
be
now,
YouTube, but right now, but we did Instagram instead because I didn't have the
that
patience.
was totally fine. I mean, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
You probably could take your Instagram videos if you can still get them and
Mm,
dump them onto YouTube as shorts.
that's true, yeah. Well, I will do the YouTube instead of the Loom because that's a good question too. Because then why
Well,
am I?
that was just my thought because I do Loom quite a bit as well. But one of the things that I'm moving towards doing, just me personally, is I'm going to try to take like snippets of this kind of stuff and snippets of other things, and I am going to start making like littler videos that are very digestible
Mhm.
because I want it to be the top of my funnel. I want if people are looking for email marketing to come, oh, hey, I can watch a 5-minute video of Kelly, and then, oh, I really trust her. I want to get on her list. So
Yeah,
I'm using it as a list builder primarily
right.
is my goal for YouTube. But the cool thing about it is its own search engine, and if you hit a certain number of followers, you can actually monetize it. Um,
Okay. Yes. All right.
So
So all my
you do recommend to host that video of Nikki on YouTube rather than Loom. Is that right?
right, because here's the thing, it doesn't cost me anything to have a YouTube channel, except for the fact that it's tied to my business account. It costs me nothing. But Loom, I don't know, Nikki, I pay to have a certain because you can get a free Loom, but it's 5 minutes or less per video, and I think you only get like 15 videos.
mm. And it's not searchable is the main thing. Is like you
That's
want to
the
be
other.
as searchable as possible.
Yeah, if you want to, because here's the other thing. This all comes back to me working smarter, not harder, and trying to make my life easier. If you're using YouTube as a search engine for people to find you, the goal of YouTube honestly should be at the end of hey, are you interested in learning more about permaculture garden? Join our email list. And it should, and then have a freebie at the bottom because that makes it super easy for people to fall into your world.
Although that particular video, I do want to keep it as
Yeah,
unlisted.
no, I would, but that's what I would say is I would have the like anything that's permaculture or even dealing with sage is probably an unlinked, an unlisted
Yeah.
thing. It's still gonna work as it's still, how do I put this? On the backside of YouTube, they can see that you've done a bunch of stuff. And
Hmm.
then as you start like, okay, hey, um, I'll give you information about about sage. Maybe I'm giving you a 10-minute, how do we, square foot garden today or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Then,
yeah.
then you can take little snippets of that
Mhm.
and basically like and that is the stuff that you put out as public, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yes, that
Because
makes sense. And yeah, I will do that.
I recently told somebody information's free. The how is what we're paying for. You're paying for my time, you're paying for how I'm going to get you from point B, from
Yeah.
point A to point B, and how I'm going to hold your hand through the thing. But the information, totally free.
Yeah, it's slowly growing. Like I have a small audience there, but it can still, I should optimize it. And then so then we have that part, and then you can see the emails. So after 2 days, and here again, Kelly, you can tell me, I don't know the frequency or the hand holding needed for onboarding an app. If you know any of that sort, like how often should I be emailing them? Is 2 days too frequent? Should I
So
space
my
it
I have a few questions. The first question is, since this is an app, um, do they unlock everything on the app at once?
out? Right now they do, but that's that's good. Like so they shouldn't, right?
Here's where I'm going with this, so you're not completely taken out into left field.
Yeah.
Um, so we're gonna jump back to story time. So my oldest child is 14 and he's in a robotics class and he has to create an app. Out of this, he has decided to create an app about square foot gardening. And one of the things that he has decided to do while we were talking about it is he is going to gamify it. So it's teaching people to square foot garden, but after certain points, they unlock more information. Or if
That's
they
so
pay for
funny.
Pro, they unlock it.
Yeah.
Because what they're finding is most of the world is neurodivergent in some way, and gamifying the apps are keeping people engaged and getting them to do the thing. So they
That's how
feel
we
like they're playing
yeah.
a game, but they're actually learning and being really successful doing it.
Yeah, so that's how we started our GIY program actually. We had a little gnome, a garden gnome, and you start out with like seed starting and you start out and that's kind of like the origins of it. But this one, it's a good reminder that we should sort of um lock certain areas, I
You
think.
probably should, or they can unlock certain things as they go because then they feel like they're being successful. As
Yeah,
opposed to being like, here's all the information. It's a little bit overwhelming. It's like,
yes.
cool.
Right now.
We've done level one.
Yeah.
Now we've leveled to level two. Yeah, I think that would probably be very successful, and you might find that more people are interested because it feels
Yeah.
more
And
cool.
by the way, you should have your son. We have hackathons for our Sage and we invite high schoolers to join us and at the end you get a certificate and things and so they're like short targeted. They're 3 hour sprints where we all get together. My husband sort of, yeah.
You probably love that because yeah, this basically he was like, "Hey, I have to create a program," and we got to talking because square foot gardening is what we do because we own an eighth of an acre right now,
Yeah, yeah.
and so we've talked about like when we move, the plan is. But he literally sat down and like I said, go to the USDA, like find because I said start with germination. What plants are compatible? You could do that in a couple of weeks. Should be really easy, and he has just been this has been his little we call it
Yeah,
our yellow.
you should totally collaborate. Yeah. Yeah, we started out 1/40th of an acre, Kelly, when we had that website, permaculturegrowmyownfood.com, but it can be done. It can be
Yeah,
done.
and we're starting to do it because like my husband and since we're planning on moving at the end of the August, I already said to him, I was like, I kind of don't, I really want to garden this year, but I really don't want to dig it into the ground. And so he's going to go buy me a whole bunch of buckets because
Yes,
that way we can take
yeah,
it with us when we move.
right.
I was like, I'm gonna be upset if you just take all my stuff. All right, so is this
Right.
the
So like first
email?
takeaway is YouTube. Second takeaway is like lock certain areas and unlock them. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do with having them do this one step at a time is like,
Yeah,
okay,
and I
so
think that's great doing it one step at a time because that was the other thing is if you're doing a course or something like that where you're dripping it out, you
mhm.
want to make sure like the first course I ever did, actually the lady sent an email out every day. Like, "Oh my gosh, you've done amazing today because you did whatever." And then if you didn't do it within like 2 days, she'd be like, "Hey, is there something that I need to do to support you?" So 2 days is about average in terms of turnaround time to send another email. So I
Okay.
think you're right on.
But I
Um,
only do that for like 2
Yeah,
days, 2 days, 2 days, and then I do the 7 day, seven
yeah.
day, and
So
I
you're
don't have,
moving it more into a
yeah,
more into like a weekly type situation, which
a
is fine.
weekly type. Yeah, and then the last, so I have choosing your area, choosing your plants, designing with diversity, which is more of the companion planting, customizing your climate. So this is something like if they lived in, I don't know if this maybe I should have started out with this one.
You
This
might
is
need to
when they live
climb
in
it before your
Canada.
plants
Yeah,
because if
I
they're
probably should have done this first because this it's also like how we develop it. Like if we develop this part of this is why I can't think straight with this welcome sequences because I'm not the user so much as I'm already also helping my husband do it. So he's developing this part much
right,
later.
he's already taking care of this. I would put this up top,
Yeah.
probably after welcome, but before we choose our plants, because if they've got to
Okay.
do something to the soil, it
Yeah.
makes no sense to do it before you're like, crap, I already have the plants in the ground. Like,
Right, right. And then there is nothing about the soil in Sage, but there should be something in the actual newsletter, the email that goes out to help them. And that's contingent on on a blog that I still need to post. So it's like all connected. So there's like missing gaps here. Okay, thank you. That's already helpful. And then we have a Q&A. What did I put here? Designing your garden. Oh, there's another designing your garden in Sage. Okay, then we have an Ask Anything Gardening workshop where once a month they can come and we have a Mighty Network as well. So once a month they come and they get the support that they need in Sage or in their gardening.
the
So
only thing I might suggest with this is, hey, if you have questions, why don't you send them to us early so that that way you have an
okay.
idea of what's coming.
Yeah.
Also, it gives you an opportunity to be like, oh, maybe I need to research this, or maybe I want to have some resource available.
Oh, that's so
It makes
good.
you feel a little bit more prepared when you're jumping in, like, oh, hey, yeah, you're the one
Yeah.
who you tell me your question. Oh yeah, I've got this for you. It
My
makes it
gosh,
just
yes. Let me just write that down. I'm gonna forget it. So I have to, I have to stop sharing to write down what you just said.
even if you just did a Google form that was like, hey, what's your question?
YouTube,
What's your question? What kind of support are you looking for?
laws of sage and what's the other thing?
Well, this will be recorded too. This is all still
Soil and what are your questions to come before questions for the Ask Anything Gardening? Okay, and then that's all I have for now. And then I have like a design video again, where it's the designer, but not companion planting design. It's like putting it
Yeah.
designer like in Canva. And for now, that's all we've developed in Sage because the rest of it is still like the designer's a bit buggy and everything, and that's why. But anything else I need to know for these kinds of welcome sequence and how to hold, the
I
3 month
mean,
check-in?
so the big things as far as a welcome sequence is you're getting them in your world. The one thing I didn't see in your welcome sequence, because like yes, they've bought the thing, it probably wouldn't hurt to have like a who are we and why are we expert? Like how can we why can
Oh,
we
yeah, yeah,
help?
yeah, yeah. That's true. They get another welcome sequence. And so Kelly helped me because I have a welcome sequence to Who Are We, which is a welcome nurture sequence for anybody who comes into any of the PDFs. So
Mhm.
I'll show you. Sorry, I'll show you here how long that actually is in our kit. So when I go So when I go to the rules, like if you've ever done the rules,
Mhm.
Kelly and Kit, and then you go to our subscribe or email. So this one is our permaculture welcome sequence, and anybody who subscribes to a forum, a webinar, a challenge, a PDF, anybody who subscribes to that or to Sage, they get onto the welcome sequence, which goes out on Mondays, and that's a whole other copy clinic. but but that welcome sequence does begin with, oops, sorry, you will
No,
have to see
you're fine.
sequences. Um, that's the first one here. So that welcome sequence does begin with who we are. You're now part of a community, a little bit about us.
Mhm.
We're the shouters. We have trouble with our HOA. See, that's how small our house was before. It was like just that wasn't even our
Yeah.
house. That's not our house anymore. And why we created permaculture gardens, etc. What is permaculture? And then on Mondays, its drip is only on Mondays, and right now I can go super like long with this, but I see how many I've written in the past, but I've put them on draft because they need to be rewritten. Like I have
Yeah.
coronavirus.
The other thing I would do if you are taking them into this nurture sequence, as
Yeah.
I would put somewhere in this email, what is the CTA to this email?
So the CTA to this email is just to, that is a good question. Tell us why you're here. So it's just a hit reply. And sometimes I get replies to this and I log them into,
Mhm.
what are their needs, because it's like, oh wait, tell us why you're here. Oh,
Yeah.
no, why?
Either
What is it? There is no CTA.
that's your first
Okay,
problem
why do
because what
you
I would
why
try
do
to
you want to grow your own food, and what's the biggest thing stopping from you? Your turn. We'd love to hear from you. Hit reply and let us know. Dave and I read every message, and it would mean the world to us to hear your thoughts.
Yep, so if not this email, definitely the next one, I would give them some resource for being on your list.
Well, yes. So the next one is the blog. What is
Okay.
permaculture? And then it's a
Because we're
blog.
getting in. Okay, cool.
And
Yeah,
then the
that
third
would
one
have been
is
my
the
next.
plant. And then the third one is the Plant Your Pantry Challenge.
Nice.
Okay. And then the fourth one is growing food. Start here. And then here I have like, where would you grow if you just wanted to start growing, you didn't have any space, blah blah, microgreens, and then why microgreens and all that stuff. So this is actually like a blog in itself, but if they wanted to see a video or
So I really love all of this. I don't know that I would have put it all in a welcome sequence because like there's a challenge in here, which could be its own little thing with its own little set of emails.
yeah,
Uh,
so the challenge is its own set of emails. So once they get on there, then the fifth, I gave you like the fifth email, the last email for the Plant Your Pantry
yeah.
Challenge. So then they're getting so many emails from me. Is that what
Well, that could potentially be a problem, but also it depends on the audience because some audiences are okay with getting 3 to 5 emails a day, and some audiences are like, too much, unsubscribe. So the question here is, you kind of have to think of this as like a hierarchy. A lot of times you'll have a welcome sequence that will, at the end, it might kick into the pantry challenge. So it's all got not necessarily
Ah,
linear, but it's all because like right now it just feels like it's very
it's
little bit.
very hyperlinked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
It,
little bit chaotic. And
well,
so, like, what
yeah.
is your goal here? Like, we're introducing them, getting them into our world. When
Mhm.
we kick them off, we're going to do the planter challenge. And from the planter challenge, they are either A, going to join the Sage, or they're going to be kicked into a weekly nurture,
And the weekly nurture is the one
like
that
a
I,
once a week thing that you send out. Or,
so yeah, so the weekly nurture goes on Thursdays, and then these welcome sequences are Mondays, and the Plant Your Pantry, I can't remember if it's also Mondays or some others. I guess it should be on a different day.
well,
But
it might be
yeah,
something to
there's
just,
so there's so
it
many
feels a little
places.
bit, there's really great stuff in it. I think there's some really, really great stuff in it. The kick there is that it just feels a little bit chaotic right now because it feels like if I was just getting in as like the reader, I'd be like, yeah, I want to learn all this stuff. Oh crap, I gotta join this challenge. Oh, okay, now I gotta do that. Okay. It feels like a lot. But I'm wondering if you did like, hey, here's some permaculture stuff. This is like, we're getting you into our world. Hey, I've got this thing for you. It's this challenge. Now it's all about the challenge. So we've kicked all those emails. And then once we get out of the emails, once they've
Uh-huh.
done the challenge, hey, guess what? Your choices are joining Sage right now, or maybe now's not the right time, but that's cool. You're still on our email list.
Maybe I just put the Plant Your Pantry challenge at the very bottom, but then I put it in the top because it's a super beginner
Yeah, but I
source.
still think like you're bringing it in, you're still getting them into your world. So the first couple emails would be like, here's a resource. Hey, you're joining you be on our blog. Hey, guess what? I have this challenge that's super easy for you. That's a super beginner thing. I really think it might be great for you.
Mhm.
And then I would kick them into the planter pantry.
And then like pause there. Okay, I don't know how I'm gonna make this happen in Kit,
Thank you for
but
being here.
I'll
Really,
figure it
really
out.
appreciate you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you
Thanks.
so much,
See you.
Kelly.
All
Thanks
right,
so
thanks,
much
guys.
to Kelly for that feedback.
Hope that's helpful, and I will talk to you soon.
Yes, thank
All right,
you.
no worries. Bye, guys.
Bye.